And we have another week, and we have another guest, and it is my good friend, the Hugo Kornelis. Hugo, so great to have you with us on the show. How are you? And for those of us that have not met you, who are you?
Hi, I am Hugo Kornelis. I'm doing fine, given the circumstances. I'm sure we'll talk about that. Um, who am I? I think I'm most known for my work with execution plans. Uh, I would not be surprised if there are people who think that's all I do, and they're not even that far from the truth.
Secrets out.
There's that, um, which will make it super interesting in a sec when we're going to ask you for your favorite data thing, because it's probably going to something that has nothing to do with execution plans at all. I mean, why would it? Just because that's all you do. But let's talk about you a little bit more for 1 second. I mean, there's most people that are watching the show probably also recognize that hoodie. It is the Hugo from Team Hugo. Um, it is great. Oh, well, first of all, we just noticed Zencaster basically told you everything is okay because it told us health check passed.
It's good news.
That is way more than good news. But following your blog, where you've been very open in sharing basically every single step along the way, which also made it easy for all of us that were quite a bit worried for a sec there, to be honest. When you started saying that it seems you are still on a slow but good track to recovery. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, and for those who don't follow my blog and who have met me before, yes, my hair is gone. That should be temporary. Uh, for the full details, see my blog. But I have been diagnosed about a half year ago with leukemia. I've had several chemotherapy treatments, which has cost me my hair for now. I've received donor stem cells, um, and that all seems to be going fairly well. Uh, the recording software told me health check okay, but luckily my doctors also tell me that everything is looking fine. There's still a long road ahead of me, and I sometimes have to remind myself of that because I don't feel sick anymore. I feel relatively okay, bit tired near the end of as I approach the end of the day or when I do a lot of things. But I feel quite okay, and it's easy to forget that I basically at this time have zero resistances because of the stem cell transplantation. My entire immune system has been completely wiped out. I have the immunities of a newborn baby, except that the newborn baby gets some immunities from its mother, and I don't even have that. So that's
Wow.
something I don't feel, but something I have to keep in my mind. I cannot be
Mm.
around people yet. I have to be very careful when I'm close to people because I can get any sickness from anyone, and my body is not yet prepared to deal with that.
I saw you submitted for Data Saturday Holland, and I mean everybody knows that things might still change, but seeing that submission alone made me so happy because this is one of the things I'm like, okay, he also starts not just health wise getting back on, but also how do I put this? Kind of mentally, you find your way back into the stuff that you've been passionate before this, pardon my French, shit kicked in. Um,
Yeah, yeah, I'm trying to pick up where I left off. Obviously, I'm not doing any paid work yet. I cannot offer the amount of time and concentration that paying customers deserve. Um, but I feel that I'm picking up things again. I'm working on the execution plan reference, on the execution plan video training. I'm also submitting for conferences. And Sickle Saturday Holland is in October. By then, I should have had my first vaccinations, especially the one for COVID. That means that by then it should be relatively safe to be around people. I need to double check with my doctor. I will probably not be allowed out of the country yet at that time. Uh, I hope I am allowed. I did submit for Data Saturday Scotland because that was the first conference I had to cancel. It would be nice if it would also be the first conference I can pick up again, but it's
Yeah,
not very
totally.
likely at this time. But within the Netherlands, I hope that the doctor will allow me to be there.
Well, as long as you're able to travel back to Germany next year in May, I think things are good.
Priorities.
Because
I'll also cross my fingers for that one. I will definitely submit when I see that the call for speakers opens up. But
I will pick you up
depending on what the
personally if I
doctors
have to. So
depending on what
Yes.
the doctors tell me, I may have to make a provision for not being allowed by the doctors, and I will follow the orders of the doctors.
well, totally understood. Before we dive into the default questions of our podcast, there is one more call for action for everyone listening right now. I know many of you already did. If you have not yet, please get registered as a potential stem cell donor. It does not hurt. It's about as well. It's even less painful than a one-time COVID check. So they will not put huge needles or anything in you. Just to get registered. Also, if possible, make a donation because for those of you that were at BITS, while it is free for you to register, it is not free for these people to actually run the test for you, because you might as well save someone's life by just doing that. Even though chances are pretty slim that you will even be a qualified donor for someone, but you might. So again, it doesn't hurt. You can even do it by mail. So there really is no
Especially
great
because the
excuse.
chances are so slim that you are a qualified donor. The world needs a lot of registrations so that the few people who need it have a good chance to find a donor. I literally owe my life to the people who registered and who were a match for me.
So do that. It is easy, and again, it is free. If you can pay for your own test, but if not, just get registered. Pretty please, and thank you.
Yes,
So
thank you.
Hugo, execution plans. Would that be your favorite thing out of the data world, or is it something entirely? And now he comes up with something that
Well,
nobody
I
there
was
expects.
going
are
to say, you kind of positioned that. It should have been,
Our
an
studio.
open question.
there are actually two things that I consider my favorite data things. One is on the far end of the development process, and one is on the other end. So execution plans and query tuning comes at the end, but right at the beginning is database design and normalization of database design. And not many people know it, but that's actually where I started. I started getting into SQL Server from a database design background, and I actually do have a session in my portfolio where I talk about normalization up to and even beyond third normal form. All those topics that people think are unnecessary and boring and way too hard, they are not unnecessary. They are not boring at all, except that many college professors make them boring, but that's their fault, not the subject's fault. And they are not hard if you explain them correctly. And I really love thinking about correct database design because it helps in so many ways. And even if you are into data warehousing and you want a denormalized model is not the same as an unnormalized model. A denormalized model starts with a normalized model, and then you apply denormalization steps to optimize it for your data warehouse environment. I admit that's not the part that I'm good at, but ask me anything about fifth normal form or about domain key normal form, and I can answer that. And I love talking about that almost as much as I love talking about execution plans.
I like him. That's about the only thing I remember from the database course I took at university, right? We had Oracle as like our practice platform, like for the project and stuff, and I don't remember much of that, but I do remember all of the normalization steps. So.
It gets
I think y'all
overlooked.
are overthinking this. I've seen a T-shirt by Kuhn that says "Star Schema, all the things." So I think that's all we need to know, right?
I I have seen so many problems arise from not starting with proper database design. And
Mm-hmm.
it's way too common that developers just start coding and never think about proper database design. And by the time it's in production and the amount of data is large enough that it really becomes a problem, the amount of data is so large that normalizing behind the fact also becomes a huge problem. And I wish I could amplify that message more.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not an easy thing to just go back and change, is it?
I actually plan to, as if I'm not busy enough already, to start recording a series of short YouTube videos. I plan to do that when I look more like myself again, where I want to talk about normalization and explain every step. So one video for every step in normalization,
Mm-hmm.
not stopping at third normal form, but going beyond it. Basically the same thing I do in my conference call, but in my conference talk, but then in several short videos that you can just watch while you have a coffee break, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
I already have an idea which session to accept from Hugo for next year's Grillen. Just, I don't know how I come up
I
with
suddenly have an idea which session to submit for Grillen.
Sometimes things just come together, right? I mean,
It's like there's like some chemistry here. I can feel it.
I have no idea what's
Magic is
happening, but I
happening.
like it. Exactly. There is that. Okay. That is fair, and that makes perfect sense, because I'm also guilty as charged, because while in my day job as a consultant, when we do implementation for a customer, this is exactly what we try to look out for. Have proper models that allow for the right reporting, that allow for the right data load, that allow for the right set of permissions, that account for stuff that nobody needs, like GDPR, etc., etc. And at the same time, if I look
That's
at
not the
our
stuff
internal
that
data
nobody
model,
needs. That's the stuff that nobody wants, but everybody needs.
potatoes. I mean, seriously. But at the same time, if I look at our internal system that we use for timesheets, etc., there's a bunch of stuff in there. Well, 10 years ago, Ben could have really put a little more thought into what he did there. Maybe he just started coding. So yeah, definitely.
I feel your
It
pain. I
happens.
recognize it.
But then
We're
again,
all
I'm
guilty of
in
that.
my case, I'm just lazy, because it's not like we have petabytes of data that we would need to migrate. It's just like, yeah, I'm not gonna fix it anymore. It is working.
If
It's
it
not
works,
pretty,
right?
but
It's not broke.
If it works,
Bigger
exactly.
if
problems.
it does what you need, then just keep it running. Don't fix it.
Just don't show it to anybody.
But
ever.
then future Ben, maybe future Ben, when he designs this system 2.0, maybe he'll start with a nice database.
For sure.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Potentially.
Does anyone want to place bets on that?
Not me. Not it.
Okay. Yeah.
So when you're not designing data structures, when you're not looking at execution plans, by the way, our execution plans are also not pretty, but they get the job done. Is
Probably
there
because of poor database design, though, right?
hang on.
Whoa.
Where did that come from? We had a friendly, nice chat amongst friends, and all of a sudden I'm getting attacked here with my own database design. Not cool, Jess. Not cool.
You brought it up.
Yeah, but only for you to tell me that it's okay, not for you to
It's
tell
okay,
me
Ben.
that
It's okay.
It's gonna be okay.
That's why. That's why we're friends.
You can always hire
health
an
check
expensive
passed.
consultant to fix it for me.
See, this is a sales pitch.
I see what you did there, but I like it. You hired.
All right, first paid gig. Back on the horse.
Exactly. There we go. In your non-execution plan and non-database design time, what is it that you enjoy doing?
The hobby I enjoy most, and that pains me most for having to not do it for this year, is playing in an amateur musical theater group. So, Ben, you can be relieved. It's not something sporty. It's not something that makes you feel inadequate.
It's not made up. What
It's just
do you
acting, dancing, and singing all
Okay.
combined. And I really love doing that.
I was going to ask if you played an instrument, but you singing is the musical part.
Yes, my voice is my
Awesome.
instrument.
Okay.
Correct.
Awesome.
So are you like reenacting famous plays? So would we have seen you in a play we know, or is it more
No, in fact,
originals?
the group that I am part of has a director who also loves to write her own plays.
Hmm.
So she writes the script, she comes up with the ideas, and they have a small budget from subsidy from a cultural instance in the Netherlands that they use to pay composers so that they have their own music that they have all rights to. At first, the first musical they did, they wrote new texts to existing well-known musical songs, but that was an issue with rights. And now they don't have that issue anymore. So it's completely their musical. They write it completely themselves. They commission the composition of the composing of the music and the recording of the music, and then we, the actors, have our chance to shine on the stage.
Very cool. Do you perform for audiences? Like you'll get a new production together, do a bunch of practice, and then perform for a certain amount of time?
Yes, this group always has one performance weekend each year where they
Hmm.
have performances on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we have several performances in a small theater with, I think, about 100 seats. That's also where we rehearse. And then we have a few months nothing until after the summer holiday. The next season starts, and we start on the new musical.
Very cool. Well, hopefully
That
you
is
can get
now on
back
my
to that
bucket
soon
list.
To-
to
I
watch
want to
one of
see
them
what
or to be in it.
No, to watch one of them. Nobody wants to see me dance. And I cannot stress this enough. Nobody wants to hear me sing. Again,
I
I've been booed
used to
off stage
believe
at a
that of
karaoke bar, and that never happened.
I
So
used to believe that of myself too. For almost all my life, I believed that I was a terrible singer, that nobody ever wanted to hear me sing, until the people in this group forced me to at least try it. And since then, I'm a fan. I've started taking singing lessons, and I don't have the great voice that my children have, but I do hit the right notes. I am able to sing, and I wish someone had convinced me of that 30 years ago instead of 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So
So,
definitely keep us
so
posted on when you're going to be back on stage, because I want to witness that. I want to see that.
it's
Not
in,
that I don't believe you. It's just I
it's
would really want to see it.
it's if I don't know where in Germany you live, but for Dutch understanding, we couldn't be closer to Germany with where we have a performance because it's in Arnhem.
See, I can even go to the zoo there. That's perfect.
So you also have something nice to see the same day.
No, that means I
Oh,
have a good excuse to bring my daughter and my family, and then we make it a weekend trip.
now it's a holiday.
There
Yeah.
we go. Exactly.
Well,
Perfect.
the next show is in, I believe, yeah, early June, but that one will be without me, sadly.
I will wait for you to be back on stage.
Then it will be a year later.
That works for me. Because no offense to the rest of the company, but if I just watch them, it's just another theater company. So because I really learn a lot about many of. We've had guests on this show so far that I've known for quite a bit, and still about pretty much all of them I've learned. I mean, some of them just made up sports that don't even exist. But we had a musician the other week
Mm.
with Olivier, and now Hugo plays theater. Little did I know.
Yeah.
And a power lifter.
And a powerlifter. There's that. So the thing is, now that I'm going on this vacation, I assume you're coming, Jess. I mean, the van is
Oh,
going on that
totally.
vacation.
Yeah, yeah. Count me in.
What I'm
You cannot
wondering,
kidnap me before the last show is over. That would create a huge problem.
okay,
Oh,
first of all, you do not seem to understand how kidnapping works. It usually does
it's
not
not by
imply
request.
consent.
Could you
Uh,
kidnap me tomorrow at 3?
I'm pretty sure there's also people that take it by request, but this is not how this works. We do we do not do kidnapping as a service.
we don't want to ruin the surprise, you know.
Okay, okay.
Well, we kind of told him now that he's going to get kidnapped in a year from now. So
Yeah, but he doesn't
this
know
is
when.
after the last show, I guess,
Oh, true.
because we're also kind of friends. So of
Works for
course,
me.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
but that means we're going to have to stay even longer. I'm going to be
Which means we'll
hungry.
get hungry.
And now Jess and I are both looking at each other. Who's going to ask the question?
Hugo, what should we eat?
Well, for that, if you really want to have a good time, you will have to cross the entire country, which in the case of the Netherlands is not that far,
I was going to say that's like half an
and
hour or so.
go to Haarlem, where I know a very small Indian restaurant. It has just maybe 30 or 40 seats, and they serve great food. Uh, a very long time ago, before I even had children, my wife and I lived in Haarlem. We often ate there. Um, Later, we got children. We moved a few times, but sometimes we still return there. It's still the same great place after all those years. I've also taken a few guests there, people who have a very different taste palette, who are used to spicy food. I don't like spicy food at all. They wanted it very spicy. We both were very happy with our choice because they serve from very mild dishes up to extremely spicy dishes. I still remember one day when they served the dish for someone, and everyone in the restaurant started sniffling because of how spicy that dish
Oh
was.
my.
Just they walked past it and everyone
Yeah.
started sniffling. The guy who ate it had a bald head, and I looked at the back of his head, starting at a pale pink until a deep pink, and in the end it was purple. But he seemed to enjoy it. I was very happy. I was mostly enjoying that I did not have to eat what he had.
Yeah.
I always
I
take the
love
extra
Indian
mild
food, but
dishes there.
exactly. Yeah. Mild for sure.
And I think this is one of the criteria where you really recognize a good Indian or well, any good restaurant that potentially offers spicy food. First of all, they offer a kind of spicy. I'm also one of those that orders a little bit too spicy from time to time, so I start sweating and everything. But the important part is you still get to taste the actual food. It is not just burning your mouth, other than because then it just becomes a contest like who can take the most of spicy food. Bravo.
Yeah.
But that also offers that whole range of spiciness, and at the same time, it really makes a difference in what you tell them. Like we have one Asian restaurant, and I'm saying Asian because they do everything from Vietnamese to Thai to sushi to everything. We never go there because they ask you how spicy you want. Once there were 3 people of us asking this, ordering the same dish. One said not spicy, one said medium, one said spicy. They were all exactly the same. Then just don't ask me. So, okay, so we're going to be at that. See, I was expecting something deep fried from the Netherlands, but I'm very happy with Indian food.
Yeah, I could eat some Indian food.
The
And
name of
what
the
we could
restaurant is
actually
Gandhi,
do.
by the way. I forgot to tell that. It's called Gandhi.
Okay, so we're going to go there. And the good thing is we're going to be there for a
Yeah,
while,
we'll
so we can
make you
work our way
respect
through the map.
Gandhi even more for his hunger strikes, because then you know what kind of food he turned down all that time.
Cool. We're slowly getting towards the end, and I kind of did not do this. So let me start at that. I mean,
Oh,
I should
that
have
was
pushed that button
unexpected.
10 minutes ago, but sometimes
Yeah. The conversation was just flowing. It's all good.
exactly. Plus, I don't make the rules here. Well,
Right.
kind of do when it comes to that button, but that was another great episode, Hugo. Thank you so much. It was so great having you here. I could keep going for hours and hours and hours, but our statistics kind of tell us that at the 20-minute mark at the latest, people start to drop off. Then again, they might have stayed on just to learn more about that Indian food thingy. I really
That's why
do
we put
hope
the food at the end, right?
exactly.
They know it's coming, so you're gonna have to wait to see what it
And
is.
nobody knows how to fast forward on YouTube
No.
because tech is hard. I really do hope we get to catch up in person as soon as possible,
That would be
as soon
great.
as it's fine with your doctors. May next year at the very latest. Again,
I
I'm
hope
going to pick you
sooner.
up personally if I have to, but
I'm
sooner
looking
works for
forward
me
to
as
Grillen.
well. And with that, thank you, Hugo. Thank you, Jess. Thank you,
Yes, thank you
everybody.
both.
Thank you for having me. It
Anytime.
was my pleasure to be your guest.
I'm saying anytime, but then again, you can't come back to this show because it would be entirely against the concept. So
You
we're going to
just
start
promised
a new
me that
podcast.
We'll
I
make a
can
new
come back
show.
anytime.
We'll
Well,
make
you
a
can
new
come-
show. It's fine.
You can come back to the reunion show, which we're going to be recording in 2 years' time once we got through the initial list of people that had signed up.
Okay.
Are we going to invite all 200 people to one call?
Yes, because I'm pretty sure this is not going to cause any issues with Zencaster at all. If any of y'all want to be on the show, just ping Jess or me, and we'll be more than happy to add you to the list. And with that, it was great seeing both of you. Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening, and we see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, folks.